And we are live, yo. You now tuned into the Black Culture Matters podcast, the place where you could come to have the real discussions about issues, relationships, and everything else that got to do with Black people. Yo, what's going on, fellas? How y'all doing tonight, man?
What's going on, man?
Hey, another one. Back again. I'm good.
Back
How are
again
y'all?
for another one. Yo, this is
Doing
episode
good.
10, bro. Can you believe we've done 10 episodes and people still come watch us every Tuesday and Thursday?
Why not, man? I think we're pretty dope.
I keep asking
Amazing.
myself the same question. Why not? Why not?
Why not?
So I just want to say to them, to the viewers, shout out to y'all. You know, y'all been running our views up. Y'all been running our subscribers up. If y'all showing love and support, we appreciate y'all. If y'all watching and y'all haven't subscribed, you know, jump in the chat and tell us why y'all haven't. Tell us what we need to do. Tell us what y'all want to talk about, and we'll make it happen, man. So what we talking about tonight, man? We talking about a conversation I had with a homegirl of mine recently, right? We've been doing a lot of episodes about the ladies, about where they need to step their game up. And she came to me, she was like, Shavar, she was like, I like the content. I've been watching y'all, but y'all keep talking about women too much. Stop complaining. I said, complaining? What you mean? She said, yeah, stop complaining about women and step your game up. I was like, oh, we got to talk about it. We got to talk about it. So what do y'all think about when y'all hear that? Stop complaining about women and step your game up, man. How you need to step your game up?
I could definitely say what step your game up is. It's all about making your options more available. And a guy who's focused on his mission, his career, his mental, spiritual, emotional health, gonna have a lot more options. Gonna have a lot easier time dating than a guy who's just fumbling all around in his life.
Hold on, slow it down. Back that up. Break that down for me though. Break that down for me.
Okay, so let's talk about it. A guy who has his career going right, he didn't got his
You a
money
career
right.
man?
Huh?
You got your career in order? You a career man?
Yeah, I've been a tradesman 12 years now as an electrician. You met me in the Navy. I never quit. I got in 2008. I've been working in electrical field, all types of dimensions of it now.
What about you, Vic? You a career
Yeah,
man?
I'm doing businessman, definitely entrepreneur. Been
Right.
painting for over 15 years.
Okay.
Have my own business.
So we got to step our careers up first. That's what you're saying? That's how we started off?
I
Yeah,
can see
definitely.
that.
Okay. So tell me how. I mean, what does your journey look like? How did you step your game up?
Me personally, I had to figure out how to take on responsibility and man up.
Okay.
That was the
That's
first
a
thing
good
I had
word.
to do. Yeah.
So you had to
And
figure
then
out how to step up and take on more responsibility in what sense? Professionally, personally, relationship, both?
both dealing with self at first. You got to be able to maintain your own self before you can do anything for anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to dig deep and get my deep thoughts to figure out what I wanted to do.
Nice.
And I had to figure out what kind of income I wanted to make and, start from there and work my way from the ground up. I
So you
started
trying
with
to
a
tell
temp
me you put
service a long
together
time
a
ago.
plan?
Yeah.
Oh, so
I had a
for
plan.
y'all
I had
out
to
there
map
that don't got no plan, you already messing up, man. You need to step your game up, man. What you
Yeah,
were
man
saying?
without a vision is lost.
Sure. Well,
Yeah.
for sure. As they say in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. So if you got a vision and you can see, you out here winning, man. You got an advantage. What about you, James? So talk about,
Definitely.
what do you think it takes to begin to start stepping your game up, man?
I think the difficult part with career choices is that there's this thing about what you desire out of life and versus the necessities out of life. So you can maybe want to you want to just paint all the time, but are you going to be skilled enough to supplement a livable, good lifestyle just only doing painting and artwork? Is that possible? Is that feasible? So I see a lot of guys struggling. To me, is having a career that they enjoy and like doing, but it also is going to pay enough money to live a certain lifestyle, because a lot of times there can be and there are people who have a conflict of, I want to live nice house, this, that, and the third, but my career path doesn't allow me to financially afford that. So,
So I got a question for you on that, James.
go
How you
ahead.
feel about those guys that's coming up, right? And they're trying to make a living, but like you said, find something that you like to do. Sometimes
Hard, man.
things that you like to do don't really pay well, and you trying to come up in the game, and you need that income. So you got to find something that has good income, but you don't really like it. What do you think about that?
Let me
how do
give
you
you an
manage?
example. I enjoy coming on YouTube and talking, but this don't pay shit right now, so I can't live off this.
What I could say answering that is I think it's difficult. It starts with children. And what I mean, it starts with children that you have to let your children explore, male or female. They have to be able to get into all types of stuff in the house. As sometimes we may restrict things because we have gender roles, and that may make things difficult for people. But luckily enough, when I was growing up, we were not really restricted on that lifestyle. So I was tinkering at a younger age, and me and my brothers were into electronics. We was doing car audio for people in high school. We used to build those Altoy projects that was really popular in the late '90s, early 2000s on
So
YouTube.
you basically saying that you was a nerd.
Not a nerd. It wouldn't. I wouldn't say a nerd, but
That's what it sound like.
you know what?
At least that's what they would call it,
There's
right?
nothing wrong with being a nerd. If that's
Nah,
what
but
if
that's
it
the,
pays
that's
the
the
bill.
point that I'm making, right? Like that's what we would call it. And when I was growing up, that was the negative thing. Them is the ones that's running the world right now. The nerds. Everybody else, all the cool niggas, is trying to get where they at. So
That's a
Yo,
point. That's a good point.
I got a life experience I'll share with you real quick on that. So
tell us all about it.
growing up, everybody experiments when they're young. They're trying to
Right,
find their path, find their way. So
right.
you might do something positive, you might do something negative. Well, I did some negative things along the way trying to figure my way. But all the dudes that was I considered corny or nerds or whatever, 5 years down the road, they didn't have everything in the beginning. So I tried to get all the flashy shit
Right,
and
right, right.
look fly,
Don't we
but I
all?
kept losing it. I'd gain it, lose it, gain it, lose it. Got to keep doing it over and over. I watched them grow. They were the old cars, steady
Mm-hmm.
job. Later on down in life, they got higher positions, nicer cars, house, got the family, and I'm looking at them like, damn, they were steady and consistent, and they ain't lose nothing.
Yeah, that's a fact, man. That's a
So it
fact.
works.
Sometimes,
It don't
you
look
know,
pretty. That's all. It's not
right. And
attractive when you're
as
trying to
men,
get.
men and women are different, right? When you're a woman and you young, your value is at its highest. When you're a man and you young, your value is at its lowest. I remember when I was running around at Old Dominion a long time ago. At 18, I'm broke. The seniors got cars. I don't got no car. We going out. I don't got no bread. So when I was younger, of course, my value was at its lowest. But you want everything right then and there. And
Yep.
that's something that I think that, at least in my household, that was never taught to me. Like delayed gratification is how you really achieve your goals. We want short-term gratification. We want it right now. We don't want to have to work for it. We don't want to have to spend too much time on it. But the people who put in the time and they build as men, those are the ones that, they climb to the mountaintop, man. And by the way, if you're watching the live stream right now, man, what I want to do is I want to encourage you to steal some advice from this conversation, man. Steal some game. You don't always got to be directly involved in the conversation. Just being around these types of things, you never know what you might pick up and be able to apply. So go ahead, jump in there, James.
Um, I can see that point. Was as far as just people. What I tend to see, I was getting back to what y'all was saying earlier. I went to a NASA program when I was in high school. They had a little summer camp where I did a business, and I was actually going to do bathroom remodeling. Was initially the project I ended up starting and working on it. Based on the numbers back then, they showed us the full blueprint of a business plan. I was going to make about $75,000 a year back doing this as a 10th grader. I went to this summer camp, so I see Vic's points as well. It's that slow and steady wins the race type mindset, and that's where a lot of people struggle because the culture has you with the fast money, the flashy life, the latest shoes. You gotta buy the Jordans. You gotta have the jewelry. You gotta have the
started on the Jordans. You want to hear a personal story, right? So you keep mentioning that I was in the military before. I ain't really want the world to know that, but since you keep saying it, yo, when I was in the military, I first started getting that military money. I
Yeah.
lost my mind, right? I had about 250 pairs of sneakers. So one day my man pulls me to the side. He like, yo, every time I see you, you got on a new pair of sneakers. I said, you know how I do it. He said, yo, let me ask you, how much do you think each pair of sneakers cost you on average? He said, would you say it's $100? I looked at him sideways like $100. What? My sneakers is probably 175, 200, 250. I had no idea what he was setting me up for, right? So I'm like, they probably like 200, 250. He said, let's say they $100. You got 200 pairs. You invested $20,000 into your closet, into your footwear. He said, how much money is in your checking account? You got $20,000? I said, nah. He said, how much is in your savings account? You got $20,000? I said, nah. He said, so basically you hustling backwards. I sat back and I just thought about that for a while, and it burned my soul because I'm like, God damn, he got me with that one. I can't even say nothing. And then he was like, yo, can you take any of them sneakers that you invested in and resell them for the same or more than you got them? I said, nah. He said, look, man, you need to step your game up. It wasn't exactly those words, but that was the equivalent of what he was telling me. Like, yo, you putting your money in places where you can't get no return from it. You throwing it away. And I just was like, damn, nobody ever told me, came at me like that about things. So that was like a valuable lesson that I learned about personal finances, how you manage your money.
Yeah.
A lot of dudes throw a lot of money away on a lot of things, which is cool. You're supposed to enjoy the money, the fruits of your labor, right? But to a certain extent, as long as you're doing positive things in there. You sound like you were gonna say something, Vic.
It's two things to that makes that goes along with that, right?
Yeah, what you think
For
about that?
one, in order for us to change some things, it would help if we had mentors like father figures in our households,
Right.
things like that. You know what I'm
So
saying?
for the
At an
guys
early,
who don't have father figures, what do?
the guys that don't,
Yeah,
they attach themselves to groups or somebody that they admire,
right.
and they dictate kind of like what type of role they're going to take on in life. And
Sure.
the other thing is, and that's just one subject, and the other subject is a lot of times women dictate what we do because we want the women, so we do what it takes to get them, what it takes to attract them. And they say they want a good man, or they'll deal with a guy that has a basic car and a job, but that's not what you see them attracted to. That's not what you see them
Right.
giving the time, giving the conversation to. If you see them somewhere in a nightclub or a lounge, you're not talking to the guys that's in corporate world.
Yeah,
You're
that's a
talking to the
fact.
guys that got their pretty car outside.
That's a
Got
fact. I'm in the
got the
corporate
nice
world, by
clothes
the
on,
way.
popping
So
bottles or whatever.
I'm in the
That's just.
corporate world, by the way. So for all of y'all that wouldn't talk to me, you know what y'all got. Nah, I'm
I
just
mean,
playing.
that's just what it is, though. If you notice it, I mean, there's a few, but
Yeah.
you don't get their attention though. You got to get their attention some kind of way, maybe
Yeah.
somewhere outside in a different setting. You know what I'm saying?
Yo,
But
before, what I just heard you say is you're going to be the sum total of the people you surround yourself with, right? So you got to
correct,
surround
yeah,
yourself with good people, with positive people, and then you got to understand that every environment you're not going to thrive and flourish in. The club might not be the right place for you if you're trying to go down the steady path or the right path. So
yeah.
that's real
But the
talk, man.
father
And
figure in the household, man, that makes it makes a huge difference if your father's positive anyway. If he's
yeah,
negative, I mean, it can impact you the wrong way too. But having a male role model, period, whether it's a father or uncle, somebody's doing something positive that can show you the way early, can make a hell of a difference.
yeah, you know what's crazy? A role model of mine, a mentor of mine, is not actually somebody that was older than me. It's somebody that was younger than me. Somebody that actually used to work for me. Started hanging out with this guy one day. He exposed me to things that I'm looking at my position in life at
Mm,
probably 28. I'm looking at his position in life at probably like 25, 26. And I'm saying to myself, yo, I'm doing it all wrong. I was in an apartment, had an old car. He in a 4-bedroom house, got a new car. I'm like, ooh, I need to pay attention because apparently he got the answers. And that was for me a personal example, somebody that was close to me. It don't always got to be somebody older than you. It could be somebody the
right.
same
You
age,
don't.
somebody younger than you, just somebody doing the things that you want to do. Yo, that changed my life forever, man.
You ever
And
ask him why he did that though? Like his lifestyle? Sorry, Jane.
no, go
But
ahead.
did you ever wonder what his lifestyle was that make him that way instead of being interested in other things at such an early age?
I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. I think growing up in New York, being in Brooklyn, being around West Indians, Caribbeans all my life, I just naturally connect with Jamaican dudes, with Trinidadian dudes, with Saint Lucia and Saint. So me and him connected just because he was the type of person I'm used to being around, laid back, real cool, about his business. But he was a very serious person. So I'm looking at him like, for this guy to be younger than me, he's more serious than everybody else around here. Something about him is different. So that's what I gravitate towards. And then I started to learn about his lifestyle. I ain't know nothing about him. I started to learn about his lifestyle. And I always shout him out. I always been shouting him out since that time because, as I said, it's the power of exactly what you said. Having a positive role model, a positive mentor in your life should change my life forever, man.
Yeah, I could definitely see what you're saying about that, and even what Vic was saying about where you end up being influenced by the people that are around you. So he talked about being at the clubs and you're not getting that attention, but guess what? When you get yourself on a higher level, there's places where the women are coming for those men. There's a place where you're going to go into a club, a lounge, an event, and you're going to look out of place because you ain't got a suit on, you ain't got these premium leather shoes on, you looking crazy coming there and ain't no woman coming. All the men are getting chased in that place because women are at an event where these are high class, high rolling men who doing big things. So I think I saw
Usually older. These is
No.
not, we talk about women in your 20s, but that's not usually the case. You usually mid 30s and up.
Right. But there are some places, there's higher class society, if you want to call it, where they have them social events. I can tell you, I found a place here doing ride share where I live out here in Ohio where it was younger people. But when they came out of this particular bill, it was 2 spots I found here. When they come out, you don't see people in jeans, designer shoes, and tennis shoes. Every time it was younger people. I'll definitely say in their 20s, early 30s, they always came out dressed like they was at a business casual or business meeting at this particular location. So
speak on that though. Is your wardrobe a part of stepping your game up? Do y'all believe that, at a certain point you should dress a certain way, present yourself a certain way? Is it about the place, the time and the place, or what do y'all think about that in terms of, as men, how we step our games up, present ourselves as in the right light? I guess I should say.
You got to be ready. We talked about this a few days ago. Like today, I went out, I had a few errands to run. I was quick, but we had a good conversation. I was about to throw on any old type of t-shirt and some baggy sweatpants and some bright color shoes, just run around with one of my raggedy jackets on. Say I try to put on something a little bit nicer. And as I'm walking around, I noticed how women were looking at me compared to other men. Several of the stores I went to a Target, for example, right? I noticed how the woman was ignoring and not looking at men. And I noticed I was getting a lot of attention because I had a nice pair of jeans, some nice shoes on, but they weren't like overly colored or nothing like that. My jacket was nice and clean. I had this shirt on.
So you're a wardrobe guy. You think that's a part of stepping your game up?
It is, because especially if you're a single male as a bachelor, there are good women possibly every single place you go. So if you decide, and I got my haircut today, right? So I've switched to doing my haircut every week now, and I have a set of clippers and I keep myself trimmed up because you don't know who you're going to run into. It ain't necessarily even about women. There are business opportunities. There are somebody you could just bump into in the line and try.
I'll be talking to everybody now. I'll be networking with any and everybody I come across, man, because you never know.
But you can't be looking crazy, overgrown beard, mustache. You ain't trimmed up your neck, nothing, hair all over the place. You ain't combed it, teeth ain't brushed. Some people be looking like, people avoid you. Hey, people avoid you, cross the street nonsense because you out here looking wild. So
what you think about that, Vic? What's your wardrobe like these days? What you feel about how you feel about wardrobe and presentation as being a man that somebody is going to look at and be respected or respect?
Gotcha. All right, so I'm gonna start with this. Over the weekend, we went out of town to an event. I won't even call it an event; it was a gathering. But that topic came up when we was talking about women on the ride. So one person tried to tell me that we get dressed in the best outfit in order to attract women. And I was telling him, nah, I don't get dressed to attract women. I get dressed for myself.
Okay.
I get dressed to make myself look good. Whatever I look good in, that's what I'm gonna project
Makes you
out to
feel
the
good
world.
too.
You don't like me the way I am. When I look in the mirror, I get dressed for me. I want to look good for me. I'm not gonna put on an outfit that I don't like, but I think women gonna be attracted to. So we had this debate on that, and it was a long debate, but it was interesting.
Who was on the side of putting on something that women like as a good idea? Because what if they want you wearing skinny jeans, a
Nah,
blouse, and
he didn't say it was a good idea. He was just saying, like, when you get dressed, like we going out and we going getting dressed, he was like, you gonna put on something that you think women gonna be attracted to, which you gonna look good to women. I'm like, nah. So, and the other thing, I think people should be dressed in whatever they're comfortable in, because clothes don't make you make the clothes. I was always told that. And there's certain times where you should dress up for the occasion, whatever the event is you're going to, or the occasion you're going to. Yeah, you need to put your grown man on if it's going to be a grown man event. You want to be attracted to grown women that are successful in things. They are attracted to a nice, clean cut looking man. But there's times where you're just out and you want to be comfortable. You're still that person when you put the suit on, but you just don't have a suit on at that moment. Clothes don't make you man.
Clothes don't make you.
No, it don't. And then there's men up there. There's men in corporate world. Everybody wants to affiliate men as being successful and dressed up and having money and making them a good man. That don't make you a good man though, because their character could be messed up.
For sure.
As we've seen in movies, there's dudes that had that suit on, nice house, big cars. They take them to the house and they dog them out. Disrespectful.
Yo,
so they don't make you a good man.
And on the wardrobe thing, right? The clothes don't make the man. The wardrobe could be misleading. I work in corporate America. Sometimes I'll be in meetings. I got a shirt, tie on, and I'll be wondering, like, damn, do these people know I got all these tattoos on me under these clothes? Like, they don't have no idea who's sitting in the room. And sometimes I don't have no idea how I got in this room because I know where I came from. And I just be like, yo, clothes can give you the impression that somebody is more or less than what they really are. But like you said, it's about who you are. You carry the clothes. And, I think that just presenting yourself a certain way, it makes, as a man, it makes you feel good about yourself. You're more confident. And then you can be more confident to go out and tackle the things that you're going to encounter during your day. So I'm kind of on the fence. I think you should have a diverse wardrobe. Like, you should be able to switch it up and get fresh and as they say, grown and sexy. And then you should be able to be comfortable and everything in between. But, I feel like it's just a matter of knowing when the time and the place is for certain things, man. James, you bewildered right now, man. What's going on?
Because the struggle with that is very simple, is real. I could put it simply put. They always got that saying, you only get one chance. You only get one chance to make a first impression.
Yep.
So the thing about it is, we know that your appearance creates a prejudice. We all know that. If all three of us decide to put on jet black jogging outfits and with hoodies on, we know how people gonna view it. We wait till the sun drops.
That's how they're gonna view you. That's how they're gonna view you.
Y'all with me? They're
gonna be all right with me. With you, I don't know. They're gonna be like, we can trust the light skin one.
If you think you get away with it, sure. But if all three of us go down the street right now, whatever neighborhood we want to walk to, we got on jet black versus business casual versus lounge, whatever we got on. Anybody walking past or driving past is going to perceive us a certain way. So
I get it every day.
It's not, and so I don't say it. Here's the thing. Let me say it real quick. It's not about like straight up like being fearful or of anything, but it's be mindful that your appearance affects your thought process, your mood, and it affects a positive, and it creates a positive and negative prejudice. And I think with some of the movements going on in this country, we're trying to act like that's not a thing, because nobody's showing up to a job interview in jogging outfits or pajamas and thinking they're gonna get a job. So let's be real about it.
Go ahead, jump in, Vic. What you was gonna say?
No, I mean, you got to know where you're going and dress according to where you're going as well. But I mean, I work the way I work. I'm dirty all day. I get paint all over me. I got dirty clothes. I look like I ain't worth nothing.
Right.
But when I'm off work, a lot of times I just want to be comfortable.
Sure.
So I might throw some sweats on, swetsuit, and walk around. I just want to be comfortable.
But
when it's time to go, and I'm with my lady or something like that, of course I'm gonna put my clothes on.
I seen
and
what
step
your
out.
sweats and your sweatsuit, your version of being comfortable look like. You put it together. What you know about
Yeah,
the scents though? What kind of what do they call those? What kind of accessories are you adding with the wardrobe? Y'all into scents? Y'all into the colognes, the oils, the
yeah, definitely.
fragrances?
I
So
only
I
got
got a
give
few
give
different
give
colognes.
one good recommendation for a cologne or oil for somebody watching that need to step their game up. They don't really know where to start. What's your go-to move?
I need to go get my. I can tell you for sure, uh, white, black, Asian, whatever. You need to use. I gotta give them a shout out. Target has a good male grooming section. They like a full blown dedicated section for
Mm.
men. I highly recommend you getting to beard washing and beard oils. I was in a meeting a few months ago, and this guy beard was dry and crusty, and it was flaking on the table. I'm not gonna lie. I don't have a weak stomach, but I was struggling to sit next
You
to him because it
disgusted a
was
little
really
bit.
irritating him. His skin was dried out, and it was just Parmesan cheese all over the table, and he
You
kept
talking
wiping.
you talking about skincare. I'm talking about fragrances,
Yeah.
cologne, oil,
Oh,
stuff like that. Give
oh,
me give me your go-to move. You don't
well, you
gotta
got.
give me all of your repertoire, but give me one or two in there that you like.
I need to get my names. I couldn't tell you. I got two right now. I couldn't tell you the names.
What
I'm sorry.
about you, Vic? I got
Got
a
you.
monster, but go ahead.
One
What
of them
about
is
you?
Prada. Prada is
Okay.
actually a good one, and the other one is
Red,
Mercedes.
red or black?
Mercedes Benz. Red.
Okay, so I got that on the dresser right now. Okay, what's the
That's
other
that's
one?
my go-to. That's in my travel
That's the
bag.
daily. Yeah, that's the daily one. You can wear that. That's
Yeah,
a nice. You walk past, you catch it, they be like, "Oh, you smell good." That's my
yeah.
go. That's my daily one too. What else you got?
The Mercedes Benz one, I wasn't on it, but when I went in there to look at different fragrances and colognes, that was one
Mm,
of the ones they put me on to. So that's another
okay,
one.
okay, nice. I ain't gonna give y'all my real hitters, the ones that when you put that on, they have them
You
going
gotta at least
crazy.
share one, man. What you talking?
I'm
What
gonna give
what
you.
you
Nah, I'm
talking
gonna give
about?
you. I'm gonna give you two, but it's different levels. Like my Prada is my everyday. These two right here, I'm gonna give you is like you might wear this when you're going to work, after work, and then the top tier ones is you only wear those every once in a while. So Amber Light is a body oil. All the Muslims selling oils on the train, wherever you
Yeah.
at, people that sell body oil, you grab you some Amber Light, and then you get some of that YSL cologne, put a little bit of the Amber Light on, then you hit it with the YSL. That right there is a killer right there. And
Mm.
then another
That's the
one is
aphrodisiac,
Angel
huh?
Share by Killian. That scent is nice. That's a
What'd you
nice
say, Glenn?
Angel Share by
Okay.
Killian. That's a nice, again, you might be going out for the night with your lady, you throw that on. Oh man, that's a killer right there. So that's two good ones. You can't think of the ones that you got?
I can think of two that I used to have.
Okay.
I definitely wore the 1 million. I used to wear that one a lot. That's that gold spray. They still have advertisements for that one. And I might butcher this name, but I think it's Jean Paul Couture
I got
Lamel.
that on the dresser, yeah.
So yeah, that's the one. They have three different scents that I really liked. That's the one they had the male's torso. I had the light blue one with the stripes, and I had the dark blue one with the stripes. I can't remember the name, but if you Google those, you'll definitely find that those are two for sure that always got compliments when I wore those. They had a really good lasting scent as well, and it wasn't very strong or heavy because that is sometimes complaints that women have. Like, dang, you walk past, it's just like you choking people.
That's that Prada. That Prada is nice and light. Like it's not overwhelming,
Very
but
good.
when you catch that scent, oh man, that had them turning their heads, man. So
Women love that one.
yeah, for sure. The ones where it's like it's light, you gotta be close enough to get it. It ain't popping out. Them is the killers,
Hmm.
man. So I guess what are some other ways that men need to step their game up? Maybe so we talked about how you could step your game up personally. What we haven't talked about is in terms of stepping your game up personally is fitness, right? Vic, you could speak to this. You into fitness, you train people. Um, talk about how your personal fitness, being in shape, is a part of stepping your game up.
Well, being in fitness, being healthy mentally, physically, and spiritually, it makes a big difference. And when you work out, you hit all three of those.
Yeah.
It uplifts them. It gets the blood flowing. The body is alert and awake. You get everything moving and working, it also makes for a better day. You're more positive. Your energy is more positive. Um, you just you're able to think better, and when you're able to think better, then you're able to come up with better plans and make moves. You're more
Yeah.
focused. Your health has a lot to do with that. So what you put into you.
Right. That's a fact. I mean, stepping your game up, as in terms of personal fitness, exercise is a great way to look better, feel better, think better. Uh, you know, we got to go to the doctor, go to the dentist, get our, insides right and our teeth right and our mouth right. By the way, mine's is looking real nice and white these days. So, get that right.
Right.
But what about now, I guess, financially? This is a big topic right here. This is one where I think we all as men could stand to step our game up. Even if we hitting, high levels, we could always go higher. We should always be striving for higher. So how do we step our game up financially? What's some game y'all got on that?
Well, you hear a lot of complaints and different things about from men about dealing with women. And the truth be told, if a man had his financial securities in place, there would be a different outlook and a different view when it comes to women. And that's something a lot of guys don't want to talk about. But the truth is, if you're blowing so much money on trying to impress women versus trying to level up your personal self, you're not going to get to where you need to be when you do finally meet a good quality woman. Because can you afford to have everything in your name? It's everything you currently own in your name. Can you, your cell phone, your apartment? There's grown men out here in their 20s and 30s. Something's in this person's name, something in this relative's name. This is in my mom's name. And that's not, you can't be trying to get with a woman. You can't be trying to call yourself elevated in a quality catch or a good bachelor when you can't even secure your life yourself. So figuring out, you got to stop. A lot of guys just got to cold turkey, cut out the buying of liquor every weekend, cut out, going out every weekend. And be like, if I want a woman and I want a family, there's a big cost to children, daycare, child expenses.
Is that the only reason to get your finances in order? Because you want a woman or you want a family?
It's, and back to what Victor's saying about working out. Financial fitness makes you feel better about yourself. It makes you feel, what can I say? It's a sense of freedom that comes with financial security, right? Because
you got that FU money, you feel real good.
Look, that's one day. That's the goal one day, right? But if you were living check to check, or if you got a job and you got a disrespectful manager or supervisor, you want to change jobs. If you don't have your financial security, you might be stuck there. Because you don't have the options to take a month or two off and look for other jobs or be interviewing part-time because you work in two jobs because you can't afford nothing because you ain't got your money in line.
So give me some game on how you do that though. Like what's some tips and tricks that we could give out to help people start to get they finances in order, right? I just gave a crazy jewel when I talked about the sneaker thing, right? I know it's a lot of guys out here that sneakerheads that spend a lot of money. It's a lot of guys out here that, whatever your vice is, if you ain't in good shape financially, that might be a place to start. Kind of take a look at where your vices lie, where you dumping money that you ain't really getting nothing out of, and consider, taking a different approach. So what else can you do? What's some of the other things you could do to get your finances in order? Vic, what you think is some good lessons that you learned along the way about money and how to manage it?
So one of the things I learned is we always go back to we wish we would have known this earlier. We wish we would have had somebody tell us this sooner. And that's one of the main things. I think and mentally, when it comes to working out as well, you have to get your mental right before you can do anything. When you get your mental right, it helps the body to work behind it. And a lot of young guys, including myself, when I was at a younger age, I didn't have the information in front of me. I probably had resources that I could have, opened up to, contacted, but I didn't have that information in front of me. And if we can get the younger guys to have this information to make the better decisions early, then they won't have to do a reset at a young older age. Because a lot of times we have to do a reset because all of the things that we did when we were younger affected us later on in life.
For
So
sure. That's the
when you're
foundation.
younger, you driving DUIs, driving no license before you even get a license, so now you can't get one. All those factor into when you get in your 20s and your 30s and you want to be a grown man, but you can't be a grown man. You ain't got no license, no car. You can't get a car without a license, and then you want to get into a place, you got to get it in your girl's name, your mom's name. So you never really own up to your own responsibility of being a man. So it starts in our teens, really, if you think about it.
Yeah.
And that's the problem that we having. So if we can get the future to think about these things earlier,
Mm-hmm.
then they won't be having these same discussions we're having. They'll have a different discussion. And then
So
that's when they learn about the finances.
right. So I always think about this, right? You always hear young guys, we all, I say me and you is a little older. James is still relatively, young, middle age, like that, right? But
Right.
you hear young guys always say, man, I ain't listening to them old heads. I ain't listening to what they talking about, right? So what I'm thinking is, how do you think somebody could have gotten through to the 16-year-old version of you? What could they have said or not said? How could they have approached that in the way you think you might have heard them?
That's a
Good
tough one.
question.
But
It
I
probably
can't.
had to be.
Go
Go ahead,
ahead.
James.
I said
Go
I
ahead.
can't tell you my first field service job out the military. It's only 22 years old, right? I worked that job for 5 years, so 22 to 27. Another young, I could use an example because you was just talking about guys living recklessly. I was the first black they had there, and they hired another one because he was having too much fun in his younger years. I was 25 at the time. I think he's a year or two. I think he's a year under me, so he's 24. He lost a $55,000 a year job plus perks of company vehicle, credit card, laptop, food paid for. They pay for your cell phone, internet, all types of perks. So probably 70 something on your job at 24 because he had too many speeding tickets.
Mm.
So as of right now, I just got another traveling job, and I ain't had a ticket in like 4 years. And the thing is that nowadays there's so many different dimensions to these career paths. Your credit got to be decent in some jobs. Your driving record got to be decent in other jobs.
Let me drop a jewel on you then. You're
Go
talking
ahead.
about credit, right? If you're watching this and you over 13 years old, you can talk to somebody in your family that got good credit. Ask them to put you on their credit card as an authorized user. You don't actually need a card. You don't actually need anything from them. You don't need to spend no money. But if they put you on their card as an authorized user, you'll build credit so that when you turn 18, 21 years old and you're ready to step into the world, you will already have pre-established credit and a very high credit score. That's a little game for y'all right there.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's definitely a good one. And notice he said somebody with good credit. You don't want somebody adding you on their credit card. They're terrible.
Right.
So be mindful when you talk to them. If they're adult and they want to help you get ahead, they should explain some of the things to you. But yeah, it's very key. I think we have to talk to younger people is to realize that there are short and long-term side effects to what you want to do with your current career, or if you decide to change. Working in finances, there's companies that won't hire you if you have a bad credit score. If you go to finances,
My company will not. If you got credit issues, money issues, they stay far away from you.
But
What about you though, Vic? What do you think you could say to the 16-year-old version of you to get some of this game through? Because right now, this is what we're attempting to do with this conversation. We're attempting to give somebody that's coming up behind us some game and some wisdom that they can use. What can we say to that person?
I mean, you can talk to them all day. You got to figure out how to get to them though, like so they can hear you.
My man got to me by coming at me with something that I really took pride in, which is my sneaker collection. When he showed me the error in my ways, it resonated with me so deeply that I ain't talked to him for days because I had to think about it. Like, damn, what's my comeback? How do I justify what I'm doing? But he hit me so hard with it that I had no comeback. I was like, damn. And it changed my mentality completely.
But see, he related it to something that you was interested in, and that's how he got your attention. And that's how we got to do the youth. We have to relate it to something that's going to grab their attention. He made you think.
So maybe
And
we
that's what
gotta
we
talk
need to make
about
them do, whether it be basketball, video games.
drill music or tight pants or
Need to
something like
contact
that.
them through that, and that's how we teach them. That's how we're going to get to them.
Right, right. Now that's valid, man. And I think that I know a lot of good dudes that's doing things like my brother. He's a coach. A couple of guys I was in the Navy with, they coach kids basketball and try to give them life lessons and little bits of wisdom in between. Giving them guidance on the game. So I think that's one way. Um, yeah, I think that's right. We got to meet them where they at. Is basically what it
Yep.
is. Meet them where they at.
And you got to be an example. Like what I notice, talk to our younger folks, is you really got to be. They're all about, they're young. They don't believe nobody, right? So you really got to be really walking the walk that you're trying to talk about. So when I was thinking about listening, y'all, I remember watching a video. This guy talking about how he is being a recruiter in the military, and he couldn't get nobody. He's having a hard time recruiting. And what he ended up doing, unfortunately, in this situation, it ain't bad, but it makes sense though. Looking at how younger people look at things, he worked a deal out with a dealership and got a fully loaded pickup truck, and that was his selling point.
Oh, he got the bait. He
He
got
got
the
this,
bait.
he
He
got
put
the
it
big
on. He put it on the
Bait
rail.
truck.
hey, look, come get the
Line
life,
on it.
dude. Come serve the military. You could be riding around here sitting pretty. So that may seem a bit deceptive, but I think when it comes to young, that made a good point. Was when it comes to young people, they don't like to believe nothing old people be talking about. So if you're gonna
Yeah.
talk about health and fitness, you need to be able to drop down and do 80 push-ups straight or get on a pull-up bar, right? If you
You got
want
to
to
show
talk
them.
about money and finances, like, okay, this car, I paid this car off and I dropped my insurance rate goes down, blah, 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 blah. So I get to say this money put investment. I ain't saying flash your bank account because, some of these kids
Yeah,
might
yeah. We ain't
do
doing
it
all
for the
that.
wrong reasons. But if you're going to talk to a young person that you want to influence, a family member, a relative, a sister's nephew's best friend, you're going to have to come to them with some real world, tangible evidence.
Right.
Because that's what they really want. We could talk all day. Michael Jordan got quotes. There's quotes all over social media. They skip right past them. I don't want to hear this guy.
Let me say this, right? Me and Vic had a conversation this weekend, right? And he asked me, he was like, yo, what's the purpose of us doing this podcast? What's the purpose of us talking about this? Am I in it
Right.
to make money or am I in it for another reason? And I told him, obviously, the dream is to be able to make money off YouTube, just having conversations, and sure, that's a priority. But for me, I've always been the kind of person that I just speak the truth as I see it, right? It might be right, it might be wrong, it might be indifferent, but I just come to share truth. And I think that in my personal life, I try to do exactly what you're talking about. I try to help people. I try to meet them where they at, but I always try to be transparent. I always try to tell them to the extent of my knowledge, the extent of what I can and can't do for them. And I never try to, portray myself as being bigger than I am, right? That's important to be honest with people, to be transparent, to be genuine. And, what I find is consistently showing up with the same message, consistently being who you are every time, eventually, you ain't gonna get through to everybody, but you whittle people down, you whittle away at that exterior, and then they start believing like, oh, all right, this guy is serious. This is serious. I can take him seriously. So I think that's a
All
big
right.
part of what you're talking about, being truthful, man, being
So
honest.
look, let me put you on the spot though.
Yeah, yeah,
So how? So we talk, but how do
yeah.
you feel about how much time and effort you gonna put in a person before you walk away and say, you know what, I
That's a
can't do
great
it.
question, man. That's a great question. I've been faced with that real life scenario time and time again, man. I usually try to give people the benefit of the doubt until you give me a reason not to invest in you. I'll try to
Mm,
invest in you when I can. I'm not always able to give as much time as I would like to helping everybody, but I do open myself up as much as I possibly can to help. If you show me that you're serious about whatever it is that we're talking about, I got you 150%. But if you show me that once you start slipping up and messing around, I ain't messing with you no more. So that's usually the approach I take.
right.
My approach to that would be is what a lot of people struggle with is when you're giving, you can't expect anything to come from that situation. So what I mean by
And
that is
expect you
not
from another person.
not keeping tabs on people, hey man, didn't I help you with why you telling me no, or why you ain't
I
following
got a
through?
list.
I understand that, but you really got to give to people, provide for people in your capacity. There's one what I think people struggle with is boundaries. You have to be mindful of how much you're giving, how much and even financially as well, when you're giving people time.
I ain't giving nobody money. I'm not giving you money. Information. You know what I think is not said enough in amongst us black people. Information is more valuable than money. I could give you money. You could go blow that tonight and be broke again tomorrow. But I could give you some information that if you apply it over the next 5 months, a year, 2 years, you might have money forever.
Yeah,
well, look, that's true, but I don't.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just commenting on piggybacking on what he was saying, because it stands out a lot that people say that they can offer these things and we should share information. But, and I don't like doing the black people and other cultures, whatever, but comparing them. But it's very common with blacks that we're supposed to share information, but then we always want to charge, or we always want to be like, nah, I had to get this information, so now you got to work for it. You got to do something in order to get this from me. But I mean, it's free information, honestly. I mean, so why can't we share? It's not hurting you. It's not taking anything out your pocket to tell somebody the process on how they can do the same thing that you did in order to come up.
I
We all human
understand that
beings.
mentality to a certain extent, though, right? Because so we've all three of us, not you, the audience, but all three of us, we've had conversations about investing, numerous conversations about investing. What I've learned is you can have the conversation about investing with 50 people, 48 of them are wasting your time. You can invest the time, you can show them the very basics up to the most complex. You can have video, you can do everything in your power to help them, and they'll still waste your time. So I get it to a certain extent why you don't. Some people can be reluctant to share information, but like you said, I believe that charity starts in the home. So I try to start with the people that are closest to me, my friends, my family, uh, the people I went to school with, my small network, I start with them first. I can't save the world. If I can save them, then maybe I have a shot at saving the world. So I focus on them. And you deal with that group, you just gotta gauge it, man. Information is free, like you said. Time is not. So that's the one thing.
True.
Like I said, I will give you whatever I got for you to use. As long as you don't waste my time, man. We can all be good. So
that can be a struggle. I can definitely see that, because what people say is, well, if a financial advisor get paid, an accountant gets paid, a stockbroker gets paid, why can't I get paid? So that's where you get a lot of people struggling with having these conversations. So how I would look at it is, I was thinking about you saying, I'm like, I look at it like this. You helping somebody prep a garden. So here, let me give you these seeds, help you plant them. And from there, if you don't take care of them, that's not none of my business.
It's on you.
That's what it boils down to. So if you talk to 50 people about it, only talk with the people who contact you back. Like, hey man, I set up my account. I bought these 3 shares. What do you think about some of this? Right. They don't come back with a partial grown plant. And that's a discernment thing that we struggle with, right? But they don't come back with anything partially grown or say, hey, I'll research this, that, and the third. I'm struggling with this part. You got some time for me? We can schedule some time. Those are people worth talking to. Not somebody come back to, hey, man, remember we talk about stocks? So what company should I use? What app should I use? What product should I use? How much money should I put in? They come back basically baby step, and you already gave them the baby steps. They're not serious.
So I'm going to call dudes out for a second there, right? Not y'all, right? We talking about the general public, right? I'm going to call people out for a second. In terms of stepping your game up as a man, one of the things I had to realize is that where you are today doesn't have to be where you are, in the future. But in order to get from where you are to where you want to go, you're going to have to put some work in on yourself. That could be some of the things we talked about. That could be improving your wardrobe. It could be improving your finances. It could be improving your fitness. But the bottom line is you have to invest the time in developing yourself in a multitude of ways if you ever going to grow as a man. And A lot of people that I've encountered in my life don't invest in development. They'll invest in developing the exterior. They don't invest in developing the brain, right? You don't have to go to college and have a college degree. You don't have to be a white collar worker. You don't have to work for somebody else. You can do whatever the hell you want to do. But to rise to the top in your respective field, you still gonna have to put that work in. So one of the ways I went about doing it, just to give like some real tangible advice, is, I started reading 10 pages a day every night before I go to bed in different books. Like right now, I got 3 books. I read 10 pages in one, put that down, 10 pages in another, put that down, put that 10 pages in the next. Over the course of the next 6 months, I'm gonna have read probably 10 books. That's constantly growing my mind, exposing me to new information. Then when I'm around people who might be talking about things that I'm not into right now, but I want to get into. Matter of fact, we was talking about NFTs and the metaverse and all of these
Yep.
different things recently, right? I've accumulated enough information to be able to be a part of the conversation, to be taught more about what it is that I want to do. So as men, as black men, we got to invest more time in self-development, not just physically, but mentally. We always been physically dominant throughout history. Now we got to dominate on the mental playing field, because that's where battles is won and lost.
I'd agree with that. One thing with you helped me get this new job I currently have. That was through educating myself outside, educate myself outside of the basics at the jobs. A lot of people need to look into company paid training partnerships. They ain't necessarily going to the
That's another good
community
one.
colleges. Right now, my last job, my current job, have partnerships with LinkedIn Learning. So LinkedIn Learning allows you to get certificates and skill sets. Here's the issue with a resume, right? Your resume is basically you putting down claims for abilities that you have based on the different jobs and responsibilities you have at a job, right? But that new company can't really gauge anything because you have nothing signed off. If you say, I could do Microsoft Auto Office, PowerPoint, you could do all that, right? Because you did it at your job. You worked at the desk, right? You was the secretary. There's no real proof in what you're saying. So, but if you get a certificate on LinkedIn Learning or through other different apps, training courses they have out there available, that shows that when you were talking about your resume, hey, I also went on LinkedIn Learning and finished their Microsoft Office program they had that was 10 hours long, validating it. If you need me to write a professional letter, I could do it. You need to make a PowerPoint, create a spreadsheet on Excel, I can do it. So
Is
with
that
job,
is that helping you out professionally in your field? Is that self-development helping
absolutely,
you
because
out?
it fills in gaps. And right now, my new job, they're on LinkedIn Learning, but they also have this academy program that with another company to partner with. So I actually just signed up for a 46-hour long introduction to electronics course. Now I did an introduction to electronics on LinkedIn. That was a total of 3 courses, about 8 hours long, but this one is 46 full blown details of breaking down everything, soldering every type of component. When y'all look at them little circuit cards, when like somebody is doing a video rebuilding a controller or something, you look at green card or silver dots and components on it. This course will give me the full blown detail of all interior electronics, your TV, controllers, Bluetooth speakers, anything, and that right there will solidify my electronics background, will solidify in my electronic skill set, because I also deal with that in my career field, not as detailed, but again, you want to fill in the gaps. And when you're interviewing for a job or you're looking for a promotion, you want to say, hey, I've been here a year. I've done 10 LinkedIn Learning certifications, and also your other partnership, I've done another 5 or 6 courses. I have self-educated myself a total of 60 hours, 100
Well,
hours this
it
last
sound
year.
it sound like the gist of what you're saying is that even in your field that you've been working in, you constantly finding ways to add to your skill set to further develop yourself, and you using all of the tools that's available. I think a lot of people don't realize how many tools we have access to as a result of having phones and laptops. Like,
Yeah.
we in a time where, there's literally nothing that you can learn that you can't learn, nothing that you can't do by simply logging onto your phone. So Vic, you an entrepreneur, you in business for yourself. How are you how are you developing your skill set so that you continue to grow professionally?
Well, I reach out to other people. YouTube University has helped me along in life greatly. I appreciate everyone
And
on
it's
YouTube that
free.
donates. They taught me everything, man, from
It's
credit
free.
to finances to fitness to
Yep.
mental to even with working. Even sometimes in my field of painting, I go on there and I'll research one of the videos on something new that I haven't done yet on how to do
Yep.
certain types of painting that a high scale person wants. And I'll go
Hmm.
and research it before I do the job and see if I can do it
And
while
that's
teaching it to
valuable,
somebody.
man. I wonder if, if that's just common knowledge amongst people. Like I talk to people sometime about the different platforms I use because I work in, I guess you could say tech. Uh, you know, I use sites like Udemy, Udacity, things like that. Google has,
Mhm.
free programs where you can learn things. YouTube has, Facebook has, LinkedIn has. There's all of these different resources that we have at our disposal. It really don't matter what industry you in, if you have a desire to grow, to learn more, you can do that. So I think we just got to make that more part of our thing, talking to each other like, yo, what you working on? What you doing? What's your plans for next year? How you gonna get there? What's the roadmap? That got to be a part of our family get together conversations, our Thanksgiving discussions over dinner, Christmas time,
Right.
stuff like that, man.
Well, networking has helped a lot too. Like if a lot of times I go and I try to reach out to people that have been in the business longer than me, that are
Yeah,
more successful. They've opened up their business. They may have started with one branch of home improvement, but now they have different divisions of home improvement under their belt. So I
I got
go
it.
talk to them and
Yeah,
I'll get in the line with them and see what path they chose or how they do business. Might ride around them for the day and just see
right.
how they conduct business all day to try to take something from that and apply it to my business because
Were you
they've
ever
already
were
been
you
down
ever
the
too
path I'm going.
intimidated to do that?
Nah, not at all. I'm not
I
intimidated
know.
as a man because you may have more success than me at the moment, but you're a man like me. So if
Right.
you did it, I can do it too. I just need to know what you know in order to do it.
They
That's it.
bleed just like us.
So you're
That's it.
humble about it then, right? Would you say that makes a difference where you respect that you don't know it all and you're able to and you're willing to learn and be taught and maybe have to adjust a practice that you may have had 5 years that was actually
That's a good
causing you
question.
issues?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I have to be humble with it because at certain times, I mean, nobody knows everything. You just
Well,
don't. Like
some
you can be
people
great at your craft, but
do.
you
Right.
can go against somebody else and be like,
I
damn,
get that.
that was nice. I know some older cats that have been in the business for longer, and they've been in it 40 years probably, and
Right.
they've taught me some things how to cut a corner, and they're good at what they do. And you'll take that, and you'll make more money because you save time. Time is money, and they'll cut down the amount of time. Now, this is the other thing I want to shoot at y'all though, because both of y'all still have like a structured corporate job, and I'm in entrepreneurship, but I was
Right.
in a structured corporate job at one time too.
Right.
Um, how do y'all feel about the time that you have to commit to those jobs versus y'all starting your own thing? Because then once you get your own thing going, you can free up some of that time. Because I hear James talk all the time about investing a lot of time into his career, which
Hmm.
is true. You have to invest that time. If you have a career goal for a company, you have to keep, reinventing yourself and educating yourself in order to move up that ladder.
Yep.
But with everything that you know, James, have you thought about starting your own business?
Oh
Because
yeah,
then
we
you
talked
control
about
your
this
time.
before. Have you thought about that?
I have. I actually went and joined the local union and looked into going through the apprenticeship, get my electrical license. This is at the third. Start my own electrical repair company where I'm doing service work on houses, stepping up to commercial projects, eventually doing industrial. But I've traveled so much in this industry. I've talked to so many different people on so many different levels. I've decided to go away from the trade side. I want to go into design and development. So, with my current traveling job, which takes a tremendous amount of my personal time away, I'm going to work on getting an engineering degree and going to electrical design and development of products because I enjoy building. I enjoy traveling, and I love what I do. Let me just make that clear. And a lot of people, unfortunately, can't say that. I legit love my job. So there's that struggle there, right? Because all these benefits I get day one in the door. I've been at home for the last month because I'm just getting training done. And so what I see now is my mind has shifted. Is where it's like I like building and getting dirty, but I'm like, you know what? The real money, the real skill, and then also the actual having my own personal freedom is in design development. And I'll get this one quick example.
But is it in working for a design and development company, or is it in owning and operating your own company? I think that was the question, more along those lines. Like,
right.
you thought about branching out into entrepreneurship.
Yeah, because you're still gonna be working with the company if you continue down the path. That's what it sounds like right now.
It would be. So when I get to that level, I would eventually branch off with having a skill set with a course that I currently have on my log book is AutoCAD 3D design for building infrastructures and electrical systems. And so why I want to switch to that as well is that it's a money thing, but I guess I'm lucky with I'm a nerd. I'll just call it out, right? And I'm fortunate enough that with my career, everything that makes more money essentially will give me more personal time. I can work myself. So I met an engineer who does designs and does electrical diagrams. He said he did a drawing. It took him 3 weeks to do. It was $5,000.
So I got a question about that. So you said more money will give you more time eventually.
Mm-hmm.
That is true, but is the money more important than people?
Money is never more important than people. Like, my philosophy is, if you talk to me 7 days out the next week, I'm probably going to talk to you about money, investing, saving, financial discipline, credit, probably a million times. And people get the impression that I think money is important. Time is important to me. That's what I value the most, right? All I want and all I think about is ways to position myself and my family financially so that we can have more time together as opposed to to being apart. You asked
That comes
about,
with a sacrifice, though.
right, right,
That
right.
time, that time that it takes to get to that point from where you are now.
Yeah.
That's the
And
sacrifice. The
so
families are impacted by that, or the people around you are impacted by that.
So let me tell you how I went about doing that, navigating that in my own life. First and foremost, I wasn't somebody that had children when I was young. I made a conscious decision to wait until my latter years, until I was married, until financially I was in the place that I wanted to be before I had kids. So that alleviated a lot of that early on, right? During
Right.
my primary working years where I was working, he'll tell you some days 16, 18-hour days, 7 days a week for the next 9, 10 months. When I was putting all that time in, I didn't have a wife or kids to worry about not being present for. So I think that helped me a lot personally. Navigating all of that, I was able to focus solely on just building. Then at the point that I got to, a wife and kids, which I have both, um, I had ascended so far in my career that now work-life balance is in order. I got a lot of time to be able to take care of my responsibilities, still be the man in my house, provide and all of that, but I still got the time to be able to pick my kids up from school, take them to school, spend time with them in the evenings. I'm not always off somewhere working because I put in that groundwork all of these years before I actually had kids. So that was what worked for me.
What about you,
Flip
James?
side.
Because I know you talk about time all the time and
The
being
flip
busy.
side for me, unfortunately, is that I'm no longer with my daughter's mother. We are divorced now, and I had to. While we've had a few talks about it, I had to really look at what am I going to do now. And so I could stay at a lower paying job and see my child every single day, but will that project me enough to
Mm.
where I can get to when her eight? My thing is very simply this: when her 18th birthday comes and she's graduating high school, it is my duty. Not I don't. I don't. I do care about her mother, but I don't care about her mother provides for her. Now we're not together.
Right,
Her
right,
18th birthday, I need to have more options than the military or $60,000 to $100,000 in student loan debts. That's my job and my responsibility. So what I've taken the time to think on, meditate, pray on, everything is that I went out my way and took this traveling job, and I'm gonna lose some time, and I'm gonna lose these next years working on things, but the trade off will be is she'll have more. She may not understand at a younger age. I may miss events, but this is a father's sacrifice that is necessary for her. And if I have any other children, and for her children as well, is that my dad, even though he wasn't always there, he sacrificed himself and his life and his freedom so that I could have a better life. And that's the
we're the
difficult.
pilgrims.
We're the pilgrims. You're the
We're the
first one.
pilgrims.
You don't get. I don't get the privilege. I graduated high school. I didn't walk across my stage, and I didn't have a dollar from my parents. So there was no option for me to do anything other than student loan debt or the military. I chose to go to the military, and even though I went, I still didn't have the proper structure nor mindset to maximize the military. There are people who did 4 years, got out with an associate's degree, almost with a bachelor's, and they was able to use their job bill to get 2 degrees or certain.
So let me ask you a question, James.
Go ahead.
Let me ask you a question, James. Based on what you just said, right? Not personally, but for an individual that is in a similar situation as you, right, that you just explained, the sacrifice of being away and everything that takes and relates to that. The topic of the discussion was about manning up.
Yep.
Can you man up in that situation being away? Because now we talked about earlier how being away or not in the household of a child makes a difference. So how do you feel about, or maybe not you, I don't want to use you really, but I mean,
Okay, well, I understand.
you kind of opened up about it. So it's a good point to, try to get that out to the people. How do you deal with that, being that you don't have control now? You're giving up control of dictating the day-to-day life of your child for money.
No, of course, and that's going to be a sacrifice and essentially a ridicule that I will face. I'm already preparing myself for that day. Why you missed this, and this is the side effect for men. For all you men watching and who will watch this later, this is the side effect when you don't have a foundation properly structured, so you choose the right person. I have nothing against my daughter's mother whatsoever, but I wasn't structurally in the place in a proper position. And when she decided to put me as the captain of her ship, well, my ship, but I'm the captain. I told her to get on board. We're going places. I didn't have the right tools and the right skill set and the right proper mindset to fully navigate. I can look back now at 32 when I met this woman at 22. I can look back on several of the areas where I could have done things differently, been better prepared. And so being out the household, I essentially got to take care of 2 houses. And
Let me ask you this, right?
So is it too late though to reconcile them? Now that you're in a better position, can you man up in so many words? Not really saying you're not manning up, but can we use that term to say, hey, I'm in a better position. I've gotten control of my situation in my life and the vision and where I'm going. Now I want to get my family and fight for your family. Is it a possibility? Because then you got the best of both worlds.
That's sure. A guy could attempt to level up and go back home, or attempt to go back and put in, hey, can I just paid for 5 therapy sessions. Let's go through therapy. I've worked on several of the things you complained about, had an issue with, and I found validation in them. It's possible. There's something that could be done, but I don't personally see that being an option for me, and I've made the choice to move on. And as I said, personally, I'm choosing to prepare myself for if my child has those, hey, Dad, you were missing some time.
So let me ask you this question, Vic, because I think I got James's perspective on it, and then after you answer, I'll give you mine.
Okay.
They say back in the days, in the 70s, 60s, 50s, all the men back then, they would work jobs 30 years that they hated, sacrifice all their time, to take care of their family. what's your position on as James was describing him making the sacrifices now, missing out on some of these things because what you just, I mean, that scenario, that sound like Tom Brady to me. Tom Brady is missing out on most of his kids' lives, most of his wife's lives to go chase being the greatest at what he's doing. What do you think about that? Do
Right.
you think that trade-off is worth it?
It's a tough call, man, because in one instance, you're providing a lifestyle. You're providing a future, a foundation for a future, financial future for your kids and everyone that wants to be a part of it. But at the same time, you miss those moments, those birthdays, those
Right.
special days where your
They
kids are
never
playing
get back.
events. They look to the stands. They don't see you. They want that recognition from their parents, especially from
Yep.
their father.
Yep.
Women want it from their father more than anything because daddy's the protector. They look up to daddy, And if you're not there, psychologically and mentally, they deal with that down the road, and that dictates how they are with men.
Yo,
And
Well,
we don't think about those things. Those are the simple things that we
right.
don't think about until later on in life when we got to deal with these kids that's grown now, and we
Right.
got to deal with their mentality, and they don't have no respect for us. Why? Where was you at?
it's about step
I
your
had to
game
deal
up.
with that personally myself. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
no respect from the neglect. They call it Daddy Corey. That's one of the fab lines right there.
Money
Yo,
is not everything because that money,
right,
they can't hug that money. They can't kiss
right,
it. That money can't scold them. It can't make them into a better person. It does
100%.
provide for them, but it kind of teaches them the wrong things in a way because the money becomes their God or their respecter instead of respecting their parent. And that
That's
woman that we talk about all the time,
mm-hmm.
she's dealing with all that. And then she has resentment towards us because we're not helping her with that situation. As
True.
we're away making that money and they telling us to step our game up, that's part of stepping our game up, is helping them. Because they deal with a lot of things that we don't see because we the man, we out here chasing this money. And all we saying is, well, we paying the bill, we doing this, we doing that. But that's a part that we're a part of because we made that child. And
Nah,
we
I
kind of
agree.
forget that, or we push it on the back burner sometimes. Not
Yeah.
all men do, but some men do. Because men get tired. So
That's one of the burdens of being a man. I think I think every man can relate to this. Like trying to find that balance between being a provider, taking care of everything financially, setting your family up, and still being present, being there for your kids, being
it's
a
tough.
disciplinarian. I think that that's a way to step your game up, right? To think more about how to properly balance those things so you're giving equally of yourself to whatever extent possible. That might not be possible, but I don't think we emphasize that enough. We emphasize go get the money. We emphasize, grow financially, but we don't
Yeah.
emphasize have balance and make sure that you giving of yourself to your children, to your wife, to your household just as much as you are to, your finances. So that's a great
Yeah,
point, man.
that advice you can give to your kids, man, sometimes it goes a long ways. Just being
Yep.
able to have somebody to talk to.
Yep.
My father died at an early age, and I wish sometimes I just wish he could be in the room just so I could
Right.
just talk to him.
Right.
That would mean the world to me, being able to just bounce ideas off him and hear from him, his experience, and telling me, I've been down that road, you don't want to go there. That would
Right.
make a difference. But, some people have that opportunity. And even with that, they don't speak to their parents because they have so much resentment. But your
Right.
parent is still alive. You have a chance to bridge that gap and build that relationship, and they don't. It
100%.
sucks.
100%.
I can say the biggest issue that the struggle comes with that is that I would say now this something I would have to pass on the buck on the woman is that
Uh-oh.
there needs to be a planned structure if your guys are going to marry and commit. And this is responsibility on both men and women. If you know you want a certain amount of kids, you don't want to work, you want to live a certain lifestyle, that needs to be part of one of the subjects we have on what we want to talk about too is future family planning.
Is that something that either one of y'all 20s when y'all was out here ripping and running was thinking about?
When I was
At
married,
some
yeah,
point, yeah. But it's not all on a woman though. I
Nah, it
mean,
ain't.
it's
It damn
a
sure
joint
ain't.
thing because we choose. Well, we kind of choose our baby mothers too, or the women
We
we have
choose them.
children with.
We choose them, but if there's certain things that if you like, my ex met me when I was traveling for work, and so there was a structure in place that had afforded us the lifestyle, afforded us the cars, afforded us the house, and did a lot of things as Javar knows at a very young age that most people couldn't do. So I would say we had a decent foundation ahead of most people prior to children,
But
and
did
so
y'all discuss? Did y'all come up with a plan? Did y'all say, this is how we're gonna roll it out? This is what we're gonna do at this time? Because that was my situation, right? I mentioned earlier in this discussion that I waited later on in life to have kids. The reason being is no judgment towards nobody else, but I got eyes. I looked at people who had kids earlier than what I did, and I saw that, it's a lot of responsibility. It
struggle.
costs a lot. It takes a lot to be able to properly provide. So I made a conscious decision to wait. And then when I would deal with women, I would explain to them, this is what I'm trying to do. Now you have the opportunity to decide if that's what you interested in or not. But is that something that y'all was having conversations about back at that time? Is it something that y'all think more about now? Like, what was y'all perspective on family planning?
Not enough
Let's say
detail.
prior to 32.
Not enough detail because we met. We're both the same age, so we met at 22, and we didn't have our daughter till 28. So there was a significant time gap between dating, marriage, and then having a child. But I would say, and I'll have to give a shout out to Kevin Samuels. Listening to his talks about structured conversations, deep, intimate future family planning conversations, there are several areas where I would say I missed the ball on what type of lifestyle do you want to live? Do you want to work after children? Like real structured stuff and writing out a real plan. I think that is something that younger men can think about. Future family planning. You're going to be a father, you're going to be providers. I currently am dealing with now. If you need to get to a certain level or you want to provide a certain level for yourself or your family, that
How
comes
you
with a
gonna get
cost.
there?
How you gonna get there is and if you get a woman who comes along on your pathway, hey baby, you're great, you're amazing, but I can't have no kids for another minimum of 3.5 years. Is she
You
willing
weed
to
you
do
weed
that?
out the bad apples too. Planning is important just because you're more successful to accomplish a goal if you write it down. You look at it every day. You're able to go back to it. If you write the goal out, if you write the steps that it's going to take you to achieve the goal, you can measure your progress. You can self-assess at some point and say, "Hey, I need to do more of this or less of that." Planning in general is important, but there is nothing more important than family planning, right? As Vic was mentioning, like the role we as parents play in our children's lives is bigger than I think any of us can really understand. It means the world to somebody to have you there and giving of yourself to them. So, planning, we that has to be a normal part of our discussions with each other. Yo, what's your plan? What you working on? How you gonna do it? What's the steps? Planning in general, whether it's family, financial, or otherwise.
I think we take for granted the amount of time that we think we have.
Yeah,
If we're
life is
young,
short, man.
we don't really be thinking about that. Like, we're in our 20s, we're like, shoot, we got a long time to go before we have to worry about certain things or deal with certain things. That's really not true.
Yeah, we
In
talk
our
about
20s, we
retirement
really
all
should
the
be.
time, and people be looking like, yeah, I'm only 31, I'm only 35, I don't care nothing about retirement. We're like, okay, that clock,
Yeah,
that
and
clock moves
that's
fast.
far from the truth. We need to really be more mindful of how we spend our time and how we do
For
things with our
sure.
time.
So
But
stepping
with too
up,
much having fun,
yeah,
it's that's the thing.
yeah,
And when you're younger, the mentality means a lot. Like, what do you think about is important, and what is your vision for the future? If you don't think about the future, you only think about the right now. You're not planning for no kids. You just
nah,
winging it.
hell no, hell
You
no.
know what I'm saying? And that's the difference. If you started planning and actually had conversations about what you're doing, that may make a difference, and then you'll start to look at things differently. But
We making these conversations cool again, man. We making talking about things that's relevant, that's important, cool again. Because I could talk about football, basketball all day. I could talk about what's happening, what we did last night.
yeah,
That's cool too, because that's a part of who we are, right? But we
right.
making these types of conversations cool again, And, you know, as men, I know in our circle, we hold each other accountable. We talk about things. We have real candid discussions and be honest with each other. But we're making this cool to everybody that's going to watch us, you know, to talk about these things, to talk about what I need to do better. Before we criticize somebody else, we should be criticizing ourselves. What can we do better as men? How can we step up?
Confidence is another thing, man, because
Mhm.
confidence allows you to be more of a leader instead of a follower. And
How
a
you
lot of
build
people
that
are
though?
following. How do I
You
feel
need
on that?
No, I said, how do you build that? I'm 15 years old. I'm an awkward kid. I got pimples all over my face. I wear braces. None of the girls like me. My sneakers is crazy. How do I build my confidence up so that the first group that accepts me, I'm not diving in head first, ready to jump out the window for them?
Well, what you just said, first, you got to deal with yourself and you got to believe in yourself. So mentally, you got to be strong. It doesn't matter what your physical exterior is at that moment. It's all
Mhm.
inside your mental. If
That
your
sounds
mental is not
good.
strong, you'll fall for anything. So you got to be mentally strong. And then how do you
So
build your mental
hold on,
strong?
slow down. You say you got to be mentally strong, right?
I'm about to tell
That's
you
it.
how.
Let's talk about what that actually means. Because if I say you got to be mentally strong to a 15-year-old, they like, yeah, okay. But how do you actually be mentally strong? And I'm gonna give you a quick example, and then you jump in, right? Being
Okay.
mentally strong is like, I say I want to start working out. I go to the gym the first 3 days. Oh, I'm excited. Matter of fact, it's my New Year's resolution. You know how this one go. It's my New
Right.
Year's resolution. I'm gonna get in shape. I go to the gym the first couple of days. I'm excited. I'm still energized. Then that soreness set in. Then it's like, well, I had a long day at work. I don't really feel like going set in. The reason why people aren't mentally tough is because when they don't feel like doing something, they find excuses not to do it. Part of building mental toughness, this is an exercise that any individual person can do, is if you want to develop mental toughness, you have to commit yourself to doing something and you have to show up whether you feel like doing or not. And I personally didn't feel like doing this show tonight. I told both of y'all that beforehand, but we've been consistently showing up Tuesday and Thursday every week. We have people following us, supporting us. So I have to work through those mental barriers that I was having today after a long day of work. And that's one way to build mental toughness. Give us some more examples of how you build mental toughness.
Well, with the gym, a lot of people go with the headset that they're gonna jump in there and they're gonna work hard from day one, and that's the wrong thing to do in so many words because you have to
Mhm.
build. You have to build up to a certain level. You can't just
Right.
be like the top guy in the gym after 3 days. You're gonna quit.
Yep.
And a lot of times we take on too much too fast. So you
Oh,
have to
that's a
build.
good one.
You got
That's
to
a good
build.
one.
So you go in there with the mindset of training. When you're training, you do warm up. You have to build. So you have to train your muscles. You have to train your mentality. And with me, when I went into a slump and I gained a lot of weight, I was going through some situations with relationships,
Yep.
and I was in a slump, gained a lot of weight, I was depressed. I started listening to motivational videos. So I
Yep.
needed somebody to be around, and I didn't have that in my
Surrounding
circle.
yourself. Yep.
I didn't have my in my circle. So the next best thing was I went on YouTube and I started listening to motivational videos. I would put my headset on. I started listening. The first thing I started doing, I just started stretching in the morning. I committed to just getting up, stretching. That was
Hmm.
it. And after I listened to the videos, and as I started doing that, I started exercising, doing calisthenics, and my body started warming up, and I
Yep.
started getting a routine. Then I started lifting light weights, and then I just work. Just you just keep going and going. You build that momentum up. You just can't jump in and start lifting 200-300 pounds and think that you're good just because you physically think you can do it. You can't do it consistently. You're gonna break yourself down, and you're gonna push yourself to quit
And
because
you know,
it's gonna
I
be
think we both
overbearing
hit
on
the
you.
same point in terms of building your mental toughness up as a man, slow and steady, consistency, repetition, showing up every day. James, what you got in terms of like a tangible thing that somebody can do to build mental toughness?
I would say I was thinking about what you said, a 15-year-old, pimples, braces,
Right.
socially awkward with people, and obviously ain't getting no attention from the girls and the guys that are picking on him, right?
How do
I
we
would
build his confidence?
I would say what I've seen from social media videos and in my personal life is develop a skill. Develop a skill that gives you confidence, makes you feel validated in yourself, and let that help you out in developing that external side. So let's say you play an instrument. Let's say you like to dance. Let's say you're an artist. Those things, in spite of your physical image to people, will give you a different perception from these people, and also will help you have confidence in yourself. I've seen people who are socially awkward, but they're amazing artists. They can draw from scratch, looking at a picture. They don't need a template or nothing. They can look at you and draw a picture. I've seen people master dancing skills who look like they can't bust a single move, but we've all seen some of them viral videos on social media where the awkward nerd kid can pop and lock and knows all types of tutting skills. And now all of a sudden he went from being that weird kid, he developed this crazy skill, got it to a high level, and now it's like, you know what? That's dope. People respect that, appreciate that, and he's getting a different view from people. So I think focusing on a good skill development will keep your mindset off of people's judgment of you. And
Stay off social media.
Stay on social media.
Stay off social media. Young kids, you trying to build confidence, that's the worst place to go because
that's hard to have a kid not be on social media, because that's where there's talks are coming from, learning information, viral videos, what's hip, what's happening. So that one's difficult. So that's why I say a skill set being developed will help with your confidence. And something I learned from a therapist real quick, people who judge you typically have issues going on in their life, and they're doing something called projecting, which means they have problems in their personal life. They don't have a person to talk to, a space to talk to. So when somebody comes up to you that you don't know and they say, your hair looks stupid, or I don't like your clothes, or something like that, you're like, I'm sorry that you're, I would say, tell the teenager, tell somebody this, I'm sorry you're going through things, but if you need an ear, I'm here for you.
Give you one more thing too, Shavar, on that.
Yeah.
When you say how to build that confidence up is knowledge.
Yep.
So the more knowledge you know about a certain topic or a subject or a skill, the more confidence that you have. And people
100%.
can't just tell you anything about what they, about that subject or that goal that you're trying to talk about, because you know too much about it.
100%.
And when you have that knowledge, is power, is confidence. You know what you're talking about. You're gonna flow with it, and you're not gonna believe anything somebody tries to tell you. That projection that James was just talking about, it's gonna bounce off you because you know what you know.
Secure,
and it's not going to affect you. And that's where we get to them.
Yeah, you could fix cell phone crack screens in high school. That could be a skill an awkward kid could develop, because everybody be dropping their phones. So you may be an awkward kid, but guess what? Hey, Jeremy can fix your cell phone screen for the Lolo. He'll order the parts for and everything. So now he's starting to have people talk to him, converse with him, come over his house maybe, or he go to their house. Develop a skill that can also possibly make you some money in school as well would be a benefit.
What about for older men, for men in their 30s that don't necessarily have the confidence, don't carry themselves with a certain swagger? How can they get their confidence up, build up their mental toughness to help them? Somebody might be watching this right now that, let's say, they 35 years old. They've been through a lot in life. They had their ups and downs. Right now they're going through a rough time, but they have ideas about what they want to do. How do we help build up their confidence and their mental toughness to push and propel them to that next goal? Any insights or advice on that?
Well, the concept of leveling up with this show. If you think about that, I actually saw a guy, a motivational speaker. He mentioned that. He said there really is no such thing as an ugly man, because a man can do things to level himself up that will still give him the attention from women of all races and of the ones that are highly desirable. So he mentioned about your physical fitness, developing a skill set that promotes you in life and boosts your income level and gain some stability within yourself because of that career. So he mentioned, and grooming habits as well. So you may not be the most attractive guy, but if you keep a clean haircut and you dress well,
keep them smell goods on you.
Keep the smell goods on you. That matters, because we can all we don't have to name drop anybody, but there's plenty of celebrities and people that are well established, obviously have high paying careers, but we know they're not the most appealing to everybody, right? I'm just gonna leave it at that. But the people, their career with their confidence and their skills that they've developed or put in a place where those things are the external is undermined because of that, and developing your character. So that's my 2 cents.
That's
I
a
like to
good
talk
one.
about that again on
Yeah.
another topic. Another time, I like to debate that
Character, yeah.
that topic we just had, because we talked about that this weekend too.
What was
We
that?
talked about the a man can't get the attention of a woman without the money. Like, say he doesn't have money or whatever, right? Or he doesn't have that confidence swagger. But we was talking about the guy from Tesla,
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. So we said how corny and nerdy he is, but he's got he's damn near the richest man in the world. He fluctuates back and forth, but he has the women and everything else, right? So we was talking about that, and then it came down to he attracts the highest appealing of women that most men want.
Right.
It doesn't have anything to do with their character or anything, just how they look. We want that. We want that look. But if he didn't have that money or that surrounding that he has, the quality of things and the quality of life he has, would he still get that attention? So
Of course
the
not.
debate was he got the women he got their attention based on what he has and the amount of money he has.
Status.
But now that he has them, if he was to lose that, would he still have the attention?
I think their culture is different than our culture. I think if you was talking about our culture, somebody at the top of their game making a lot of money and then they fall off and go broke. I think in our culture it's more likely that, most people are not going to stand by his side. Most women are not going to stand by his side. But I think in their culture, it might be some differences. I'm not well versed enough in their culture to be able to tell you yes, no, maybe so, but I think it might be a little different. I think with us, it's more so that's the case,
because you attract them, but can you keep them once they didn't notice you until you had something that attracted their attention.
And that's the thing about us I think that's flawed, right? Is because the type of attention you get with certain things, it might seem positive, but the outcomes are usually negative. The type of attention that you might get in their world from being the smartest guy in the room or the most accomplished professional, it's going to attract a different type of woman. For us, it's like whatever's flashy, whatever's fast money, a certain type of women are drawn to that. Are you going to marry that woman? Is that woman going to be the mother of your children? Do you want her raising your kids? Maybe yes, maybe no. I don't know. But I think that's more specific to us. Y'all feel free to disagree, but I think you're right. If most people who are in that position that attracted women using money, they fell off, a lot of them will find themselves alone and by themselves,
Well, that's a man's fault then. That boy, what you just said, clearly like you said, they use money to attract the women. So a normal person, a regular guy, I ain't gonna call him regular because even that sometimes can seem a little bit demeaning, right? A guy working on himself, developing himself.
Great point.
We see it a lot of with the athletes when they retire and the money stops when women are
Perfect
gone.
example. Perfect example.
But those guys are not conservative. That's the thing, right? Somebody I was talking to about my job, they said, well, what new vehicle you gonna buy since you got this new job? And he said, and that was the first thing came in their mouth is you make
more money.
Spend more money. So where most men fall short is they assume you get a pay raise, you get a promotion. That means what? More money, more cars, more clothes. And that's where most men lose because
So you're conservative, you would say.
I would say yes, I'm conservative. I've only customized 2 cars in my whole life.
Vic,
and I never bought a pair of rims for a car. I did a sound.
I have in my 20s. Vic, would you say you conservative or what's your perspective on it? Are you using external things to try to attract? Well, you married. I can't even say that. So let me retract that. But what's your take on it?
I mean, in my past, I used to use things to attract women, but sometimes, like, we used to play a game when we was younger. Honestly, we would try to approach women in the club and see what they was.
Did he cut out?
Your audio is kind of breaking up. We can't hear you clearly. Yeah, something went out. James, give him a moment until you come back in. We still can't hear you.
We can't hear you. I don't know. He working? He's look like his mic turned off now.
Yeah. So all right, James.
Hello?
Let's.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. All right,
Yeah,
go
my
ahead.
mic turned off. I don't know how, but yeah. Nah, we used to play a game and we used to wait and see how they treated us in the club. If they didn't treat us right when we go outside, we go get the big boy whip and pull up on them, and you get a different reaction. But then you know you don't want them,
Yep.
so then we shut them down. But
Yeah.
you know that's when you're younger. Nowadays, the way you look at women when you're young and the way you look at women when you're older is different.
Talk to him.
The things that you want from a woman when you're younger is different, and when you're older, you look for more peace of mind, and more subtle things that you can get from a woman as you get older. And when you're younger, you're more attracted to body and personality, I guess.
The
You know, you
physical,
want
it's more physical
that
women.
chemistry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yo, fellas, we've been going for about an hour and a half. I think we dropped a lot of jewels in this conversation, a lot of things that people could pick up and walk away from this and actually apply in their life, man. We talked about, how can men stop complaining solely about what women are and are not doing and step our own game up. We talked about different ways to step your game up in your personal life, right? Investing in your mental health, your physical health, exercising regularly. We talked about, how you present yourself, some of the positives and negatives of presenting yourself certain ways, being conscious of that, making sure you look good, smell good, feel good. We talked about financial, stepping your game up financially. That might mean, committing more time to work. That might mean, developing your skill set and increasing your well of knowledge to step your game up financially. We also talked about finding some sort of balance between working hard and making the money and still being a contributor to your family. I think it's a lot of good things, man. Any last words, any parting words I want to leave on the audience? Any little game that you think could help them step their game up? Start out with you, James.
I'd have to say you're going. It was a great conversation. Definitely is a needed conversation. We did. I don't know if we mentioned it, therapy, fellas, especially if you had structural issues with your mother, your father, aunties, uncles, grandparents, whoever raised you. Whether you think things were good or not, I would recommend a therapist if you think life was awesome, because you may have missed some gaps, or you may have something that your mind at a young age blocked out and covered up to protect you to get you to the next level. Therapy for sure, fellas. But I would say for a man, you really have to take the time and try to think about what kind of life you want for yourself. And then when you decide to bring a woman in and have children, what kind of life and lifestyle do you want for them as well? And work on getting some resources in, mentorships in, and try to formulate a real life plan, because as Vic has touched on, I touched on, uh, there's you have to trade your time for money, but eventually there's things you could put in place where the money's making money when you're sleeping, the money's making money when you're at the park with the kids at a PTA meeting. So you got to look at how to get to that next level so you can really live life and not just be existing. I think that is the thing I would say for men. Look at a way to live life and not just exist and go through the motions.
You live every day, you die once. So, live completely while you can. Go ahead, Vic. What would you say? What's some game that we could walk away from this discussion to help men step their game up?
I would say learn how to be independent.
Mm,
Start with that. Make sure you have the proper tools that you need in order to be successful as an independent man, and that would be the basics, like a driver's license,
mm.
a car. Try to maintain your own household. Try to get things in your own name. Start building your credit early,
Yep.
and building that financial base that you need in order to take care of a household. And if you focus on those things, then you put yourself in a position to attract the certain women that we're talking about that will make us successful. Because they say behind every successful black man is a black. So that is how you would attract your partner, and that partner will also help you to be successful.
100%, 100%. So I'm gonna close us out with this, man. You know, if you want to step your game up, think about yourself as a caterpillar, right? A caterpillar starts out as a worm. It goes into the cocoon. It spends time in isolation by itself, going through this metamorphosis. Then it comes out of the cocoon. It's a butterfly. It's now capable of flying to the highest heights, right? The best thing that I ever did in my life was separating myself from the pack, standing by myself and focusing internally on what I can and cannot do better. I wasn't worried about blaming other people. I wasn't worrying about making excuses. I was worried about looking in the mirror, saying, this is what I do well. This is what I don't do well. This is where I want to go. And this is how I'm going to get there. And if you take that time to go through that metamorphosis, maybe take some of the pointers that we all gave y'all tonight, work out, read, you know, learn, develop your skill set, go out and network and talk to people who are doing the things that you want to do. If you really take the time to focus on you for a little while, leave the women alone, leave the partying and all of that alone, that period of metamorphosis could change your life forever and you can step your game up tremendously. I know we all are living examples of the ability for us to start in one place and grow into a completely different one. So, you know, self-reflection, self-examination, and then self-development. That's the way we're gonna end out. Y'all got any last words before we wrap up?
Ah, man, I'm good. It was a good show.
We
Appreciate
covered a lot
everybody.
of things, man. A lot of stuff
Well,
came out that was good.
to all of the people that's checking us out right now, man, if y'all think that if there are any topics that y'all want to see us discuss, if there's any topics you want to participate in, send it to us in the chat, comment on the page. And I got a final question for you. If you're watching us live or you're watching us on the replay and you haven't subscribed to the channel, tell us what we need to do better to win your subscription. All right. Until next time, we signing off. It was another good one. We'll be back again on Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, be gone.